Record to the cloud. Excellent. Okay, we are live. Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. I am here with Kathryn Wayne Spindler, and I always have to slow down when I say your name. But
you can just call me Kathy.
Kathy. Okay, I'm here with Kathy. All right. Kathy is an attorney, and I met Kathy several months ago. She is in a networking group that I joined, and I just love her. I was really taken at her ability to present legal advice in a very non-legal jumbo, what do they call it, legal jargon way. So she has a really great way of giving you all information that is, it'll probably make you laugh or chuckle a little bit. You'll understand exactly what she's saying, and she's just really matter of fact. She's going to give it to you like it is, and yet she's got this big heart for helping people. So I feel like she's really unique from the attorney perspective, and you guys are going to love her. So welcome, Kathy. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much. That was such a nice introduction.
Well, coming from the heart, baby, you know, gotta say it like it is. So yeah, so I called Kathy a few weeks ago and I said, hey, divorces are on the rise. We need to get on and talk about this, and what's the impact that it's going to have on people's families. And then of course, you know, we want to talk a little bit about the legal impact that it's having on businesses and just life in general. So that's why I brought her on. Kathy, give us a little bit of background on you and how long you've been practicing, and what's your specialty, and where do you like to focus?
Okay, so I've been an attorney for 26 years. I predominantly do family law, a lot of divorce, custody, and that sort of stuff. And I think that that's probably going to be my focus for the rest of my legal career. It's interesting how the beginning of this COVID pandemic really affected our practices, because we're a very court-driven practice. And so even before there was announced a shutdown where we needed to work at home, when they started limiting gatherings to 500 and then 50 and so on, courts started to close immediately. And at that point, everything kind of closed down for us. And we had to kind of focus on other areas of law where we could try to still assist customers and things like that. But we really did shut down for a little while. The court has started to find ways to reopen, even though we can't gather. We can do electronic filings now. We can start new cases. We can handle some minor things within the court system by Zoom or teleconference. And everything can be e-filed now, where it used to be very limited what we could e-file. So the courts have opened up for family law. And I think that this will cause more filings, but I don't think it's going to cause more filings in terms of people who never ever gave divorce or custody battles a thought. This is going to be people who were already in strained relationships, already struggling for one reason or another. And this is going to have pushed those people to wanting to file. And I already have several of those cases. And I've already talked to many of those people about seeing if counseling can help and seeing if they can find ways to get through this first before filing, but there's already filing happening. I think that while a lot of people are living in households that are good, there's a lot of domestic violence out there. And by being trapped in homes, those things have already went on the rise. There are a lot of child protective services actions where children are being abused. And so by putting everybody in this confined setting for this period of time, those are the cases that we're going to see come through the door now.
Yeah, that was one of my big concerns when all of this, even before the shutdown happened, was domestic abuse, child abuse, suicides. I mean, you know, I knew that it was all going to go on the rise. And so that's really, it's tragic that it was I don't think it was a far reach to make that prediction, but it's very tragic that that's what we're seeing. So, you know, like, what do you do for those people now? Are they calling you? Do they feel like they can get a lifeline from you now? And are there certain things they can do now, or that they need to wait on? What would help them and hurt them in this particular situation right now?
Well, right now, the only thing the court's really hearing is something that they would consider an emergency. So if somebody contacts me and they have child abuse allegations or domestic violence going on in the home, there's not a lot as an attorney we can do to jump into the court system, but obviously you can immediately call the police under domestic violence situations. They can do orders restricting people from returning to the home, and they can press criminal charges so that we can get protection in that respect. Or you can call CPS, Child Protective Services. They will start an action, and then they can make recommendations to remove people from homes under these circumstances right now. Then what we can do with those CPS reports or those police reports is we can get personal protection orders for people within the court system, because that's considered an emergency. Or if we have documentation to prove that there are other kinds of things going on, we might be able to get temporary emergency orders for custody and things like that. So the first step is, of course, I'm telling people to call the police or call CPS, because that's all that really is available until we have enough proof to get the emergency order protection from the court system.
So yeah, that's great. It's good to know that they're not stuck in that situation, that there at least is something until the courts open up that you can step in. Right. How has this whole thing impacted your clients that maybe you've been in transition? You know, if there was things that you had to stop in the middle of, how has it impacted them? Where do they stand in all of this limbo? I have a friend of mine who they're in the middle of an adoption when all this happened, and it was an adoption where they're like holding their breath because of the birth mother, and there was some weird thing going on there. So they can't, you know, they're like, are we going to lose our child that we've adopted?
Right. So I've had a few cases that were right in the middle of the case about 30 cases right in the middle when this all happened. And some of them have went on just fine because they were pretty amicable. So we've drafted the paperwork. We're just waiting for the court to open, then they'll enter their judgments and move forward. Other ones, we've had real problems because, for example, we've had cases with domestic violence, drug addiction, child abuse. I mean, real serious issues. And, you know, there was no way to get into the court. So in my case, the moms had to make a decision about fulfilling the terms of a custody order, which was in place. Then things were going very poorly. So they had to make a decision about releasing their child or violating the custody order until they can get back into the court system with a motion. So we've had to kind of muddle through what we could muddle through.
Yeah, boy, that's too bad. So yeah, so people are probably really anxious to get this rolling.
Right. They are.
Oh, I was just going to ask what the status is currently. Like, when do you see the courts starting to open back up for these people?
Well, it's interesting because every court is a little bit different. So Livingston County has really started to open up more than, say, Oakland or Wayne has. Livingston County has been having Zoom hearings, has been conducting more things than Oakland or Wayne County. Wayne County has sent us out that they are going to stay closed for the remainder of the calendar year.
Oh.
And everything is going to be done by e-file or Zoom. But yet it hasn't really quite been set up yet. So we don't know how long that waiting period is going to be. Oakland County has started to try to do teleconferences and things like that, but we haven't had a Zoom hearing on that yet. So things are starting to open up, and we're hopeful that by the 18th or the 20th, we're going to actually get a little bit more information. What Wayne County has said is that they're going to start scheduling hearings rather than having 30 cases on a morning where, you know, there's 300 people there. They're going to schedule them out like in half-hour time frames and try and spread them out by Zoom that way. And so you know, it's all just such a learning curve. It's all going to just kind of flow out as we get more information. Some days I'm getting a notice that something will be handled by Zoom, and sometimes I'm getting a notice that a hearing scheduled for this month is getting shipped way out to July. And there's just no way to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's really just uncertain whether the courts are going to be fully open, half open, or not open at all. It's just a
Right.
day by day.
And
Yeah.
county by county. I would anticipate the smaller the county, the more likely they're going to kind of go back to almost full-scale operations. The larger the county, like Wayne County, the more they're going to kind of try to keep it closed and keep hearings by Zoom and things like that.
If they stay closed, does that mean that it stays in a state where it is now? So that, again, if we go back to domestic and child abuse, and we can't have you feel like you can't really reach in and help these people fully like you normally would, is that what that means?
No, I don't think it will, because
Okay.
the courts just can't do that. There are certain mandates. All judges are required to have divorces done within a calendar year from when it was originally filed. So the courts have not lifted those mandates. So they're going to have to find a way to allow us to have these hearings, whether that be by Zoom, whether that be, you know, by some other social media mechanism, but they're going to have to, whether that means they're going to move these out in such a way as they limit the number of people who can be in the courtroom and in the courthouse at a time. They're going to have to find a way to keep these moving forward. And I believe they will. Yeah. I think we're close, because we keep getting new updates all the time, and we're getting things scheduled.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Good. It would break my heart if we couldn't help these people like we need to, right? I mean, they're already in a bad situation that they don't know how to get out of. So, boy, it would be horrible if the courts were shut down and we wouldn't be able to fully give them the help they need. So, when we talked about this, you know, when I called you and I said divorces are on the rise, what the heck's going on? How, if somebody is in this, so you had said you already had some of those cases, and so have you gotten calls now for people, so through this, like new clients, okay, I want to get a divorce, or, you know, like what are things that are you telling them, well, do this, don't do that, if you do this now, you're going to be screwed? Or how do you counsel them at this point in time when they're like, oh, okay, if he leaves his socks on the floor one more time?
So what I'm telling people is, and what I'm telling people now is different than what I was telling people a few weeks ago. So I'm telling people now, we can file your action, and we can, in the most part, get temporary orders signed by judges. A few weeks ago, we couldn't do that. So what I was telling people before is, we can file your action, but if by filing that action, it kind of sets off a reaction in your spouse that's going to be, he stops paying all the bills, he gets violent, or she stops paying the bills, or she gets violent, then the problem is I can't get into the court and file a motion to fix that. The judges aren't signing temporary orders right now. That's a problem. Well, that's starting to change. Now I file a new action. I submit the usual temporary orders for status quo, mutual restraining order, things like that. Those are getting signed now as they normally would have in the past. And I can accomplish more for people. But I am still telling people, if you think that by filing this, it's going to set off a surge of domestic violence, then let's put a safety plan in place before we file, so that you know where you're going to go, you know where you're going to take the kids if that's something that happens. Because other than calling the police, it's really hard to get a hearing date yet. So we're still doing that. And I think we're going, like I said, I think we're going to be able to have hearing dates soon. So
God, thank God.
I'm also telling people, you know, go get a copy of your credit report. Make sure that you either cancel credit cards, or you reduce the credit spending limit so that they don't get charged completely in a way that you would not be able to afford to pay them off. kind of keep track of, what money is in what accounts. Possibly move it for safekeeping if you feel like you need to, because there's going to be a bad reaction. So we do kind of counsel people before they even file what they can do to keep things as intact as possible if they think that the reaction is going to be bad.
That's great. So when we hear attorneys referred to as counselor, you truly are a counselor.
I try to be, because when people come to me, one of the things I say is that no matter how much you want this, no matter how much you've decided that this is the right thing for you, it is not an easy process for anyone to go through. And so let's make sure that you're ready for this. Let's make sure you have done counseling if you think that's going to help. Let's make sure that when you file, you've decided that this is really something that you're ready for, because there's no easy way to get through this, even if it's what you really want.
Yeah.
It's just a hard process.
Well, and I think one of the things that really impacted me when you first presented in our group was how you really, if somebody calls you and wants to get a divorce, that you really try to counsel them out of a divorce. And can you speak to that a little bit? Because it was just so, I thought it was beautiful. And then of course, I think you told the story, and you've told me at another time about this one particular woman who comes to you every year.
Oh.
So humor the audience.
Well, okay. So I get a lot of calls about people who want divorces. And, sometimes the reasons people want divorces they're not domestic violence. They're not huge addiction issues. They're just, issues. Nobody's perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And so I first tell people, that doesn't sound like an issue that you shouldn't be able to fix. So I try to get them into counseling. But I also have people who come to me, and there are a lot of divorces now in late age divorces where people are in their 60s or even 70s. And I have this one lady who comes to me nearly every year, and she says, I can't take it anymore. I want a divorce. And I say, okay, what's going on? And it's the same thing every time. He's not abusive to her. I mean, quite honestly, she can do whatever she wants anytime she wants. He doesn't restrict her ability to spend money. He's just boring. And she wants to go have some fun. And so I look at their total Social Security, and I look at their total pension, and I look at what they have to divide. And I say to her every single time, do you realize that you will be living in subsidized housing and you will be below the poverty line if you get a divorce? Because when you divide that in half, it is what it is, right? Just go get some friends and go on a bus trip and have some fun if what he wants to do in his retirement is sit on his lazy boy and watch TV and drink beer. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with either lifestyle if that's what you choose. But don't put yourself in a worse position just because he's not interested in the same things you're interested in right now. So yes, I really pay attention to where will this person be when the divorce is finalized? Because maybe where they're going to be isn't really it's not so green on the other side of that fence. Maybe it's not better. And you maybe could just do something different within your life to find a solution to your problem that isn't divorce.
Right. Yeah, and if you want to have that fun and happiness, then sometimes the money's got to be there to do it, right?
Well, right. So, I mean, I do that. With every divorce, I feel like I look at where will you be when this is over? And is there a different solution to your problem, or is that really what you should do? Yeah.
I think that's fabulous, because I think a lot of people may not have that foresight, or probably just can't even see the forest from the trees, just because when you're in it, it's almost impossible to see the solution, which is why they come to you, and taking that objective view for them and being able to help them see that path. How often do you think you have people come to you that you end up saving their marriages?
Oh, I would say that there's a good a good sizable amount every year. And sometimes I'll meet with them, I'll talk to them, I'll give them therapy, I will give them names of counselors I think are great, and they will disappear and work on their marriage, and it's a great thing. Sometimes they'll come back 3 years later and say, we've been trying for 3 years and I'm ready. And then I also know that they really are ready. They've tried everything they could and they really are ready. So there's no regrets, there's no second thoughts. And when they go through that process, they know it's what they really want. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Are there any misconceptions that people have about divorces, or or is this part of it if we're looking at what's on the other side? What are some of the most common misconceptions that people have revolving around divorce?
Well, one of the questions I seem to get all the time is, can I move out? And then does that mean I'm abandoning the house and I will get no equity out of it? No, that is not the definition of abandonment in the state of Michigan. You are not required to live in a house in order to maintain your interest in its equity in the divorce case. The house is only in my spouse's name, and so therefore I won't get any equity in it. That's not true either. It doesn't matter whose name the asset is in, you're still entitled to 50% of the marital portion, as long as there wasn't a prenup or some other issue that's outstanding, like it was inherited or something like that. There are a lot of misconceptions about whether or not you have to live together, whether or not it matters if something's in someone's own name. I get questions every day that people have heard from other people what the law is. And so I spend a lot of time on the phone clearing up those misconceptions. But, part of the free consultation and the phone calls and things like that is getting to know them and them getting to know me. Because when you go through a divorce, you need to be comfortable with that person that's working for your needs. And by getting to know me and hearing those things, I feel like they know how I'm going to help them and how I can't help them. And I think that's a good thing. There has to be a comfort level because you have to trust me.
Sure. Well, and I think that comes across just even in this interview, that you really are so genuine and caring and trustworthy. I just, I feel like, if anybody were going down that path, I certainly would encourage them to get in touch with you because, like you said, that's what struck me about you. I just really appreciated your approach to business and to law. I thought, heck, it's all the books and the journals and everything you all have to read to become a lawyer. Oh my God, I could never do that. And yet, but some people are very structured in how they speak. They're still like speaking to you from that book. And I just feel like you're speaking to us from the heart and, from a humanity standpoint. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, because that means a lot to me. I talk to people all the time and they'll say to me, you've made me feel so much better, or I understand something so much better. And as an attorney, that matters so much to me because I don't like it when I go somewhere and I'm trying to understand how somebody's going to fix my car and I have no idea what they're saying to me. And I mean, there's lots of things I don't know anything about. And I like to make things understandable because I like it when people make things understandable to me.
Yeah. Treating people how you want to be treated.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Right.
Well, I guess the one thing we haven't addressed is, how does this affect the kids? So when we're talking about visitation and even now, like currently, people who have visitation with kids, has that affected their visitation, or looking at COVID and going forward, how do we see that parenting time being affected?
So at the very beginning of this, when the governor was putting down different orders, she very clearly put down an order that even though there is a stay-at-home order, everyone should be following their parenting time orders. You should be doing your exchanges the same as normal. You should still be doing your parenting time as ordered by the court. And so what's happened is, in certain cases, there's been very legitimate reasons why one parent, for example, if one parent has a ex that is maybe suffering from alcohol or drug abuse and is not doing things to keep themselves safe during this COVID crisis, then that parent might have a legitimate concern about letting the children go, because while they were working towards sobriety, with everything closing down, and now they have fallen off sobriety, and there might be a real danger. We can't go in to get that order changed, so they have to make the decision about whether or not to violate it. When they violate it, the courts are going to decide later if your reason for violating that order was legitimate, in the best interest of the kids. You can show good cause for why you violated the order, or is there going to be makeup time for that parent because you shouldn't have violated the order? And I can tell you from some of my cases, I've already told clients where I say, I don't think the court's going to think that's good enough, and you're going to end up with makeup parenting time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I told other clients, well, I can't tell you to violate a court order. I can certainly understand your concern. And I think the court's going to understand your concern too. We just need to be really careful and try to offer what we can. So please offer that parent some FaceTime, offer that parent at least maybe some supervised parenting time in your house. But I can understand, based on what's happening, that you think the children would be in substantial danger if you just let them go.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a situation where the courts are either going to order makeup time or they're not. And those are just going to happen over this summer.
So those would be the two worst things that could happen, basically.
Yeah, I don't think anything that's happened, at least in my cases, are going to be serious enough for a court to change custody based on a very limited period of time where they lost some parenting time. But I think there could be some makeup parenting time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. So yeah, so for people who are listening out there and have looked into their attorney, have gotten advice from their attorney, Mr. or Mrs. Google. So you're hearing it right here, right from the expert on what is myth and what is not myth. So that's, I wouldn't have known that. So thank you for clearing that up. And of course, who knows if people are doing it out of legitimate reasons or out of spite. So that's good that you're there to help them, you probably should, you probably need to.
Yes, I've told a few people, just because your ex is living in Detroit in an apartment is not enough to think that your child's in danger when you exchange your child for parenting time. That's not enough.
Right.
So, yeah. So there's going to be makeup parenting time for that.
Yeah. Whew, that was a lot. Is there anything we haven't covered? What else do we need to cover that you feel is pertinent to this situation? Or what about businesses? I don't know that are there any legal issues with businesses that you're seeing with COVID-19, or is that in part of your wheelhouse of area?
Well, I don't know that there is any real change in how businesses operate, except for the payroll protection programs and things like that have come out. But that's not really something that I deal with in the family law arena. In estate planning, that kind of came to a halt too, until the governor came out with a way for us to remotely notarize and witness things. And now we can do that that expires on, I think it's May 6th. So 2 more days and we won't be able to do that anymore.
So how will that get done?
She'll either have to extend that order, or we will have to wait until we're able to meet people in person again.
Okay.
So, but there was an order put in place how we could remotely notarize through Zoom and things like that, because there are so many things that we needed to try and find ways around. So in between when this started and when the governor came out with that executive order about notarizing, we had to send people through bank drive-throughs and things like that to try to get things accomplished. I mean, this is the thing. I tell people all the time, when things like this happen, that's your time to, okay, how's another way around it? Don't just, well, now I can't do it. Just what's your way around it? There's always a way if you just spend a little time thinking about it, right? And okay, I can't do this right now, but what can I spend some time doing that will be good for my business when I open up again? I mean, I have to do continuing legal education classes for my licenses in other states. Michigan doesn't require it, but other states do. And so I did a whole bunch of continuing legal ed classes because I thought, well, I've got a little time on my hands. I mean, just do those things that you didn't have time for before. So, and
I
I'm
had that
trying
conversation with the chamber. You're trying to what?
And I'm trying to get comfortable with doing things like this.
I know, right? You're doing amazing. I'm so happy you're here. Well, in the conversation I had with the chamber earlier today, that it was just that. It was like, you have to be able to look at every aspect around you, and that, you know, it's not just, so this physical space that I practice in, it doesn't particularly define me. It's the one that I've built for 23 years and it pays the bills. But what are other areas that I can branch out into that are also going to ultimately support me in my life, it should this ever happen again? And so thank you, because you're here helping support me as I launch this off the ground. So I really appreciate it.
And this is so fun.
I know. See, I told you, it's like getting bit by this fun bug, right? You're gonna be like, okay, when can we do another one? And you know, that being said, if there's anything pertinent that you want to get out, because my message also to the chamber was really helping everybody in the community. So, you know, I am looking to do more of this with businesses, whether you're open or not, because there's always a way to get cash flow, to reach out, to help people. If you and I are still standing at the end of this, Kathryn, and everybody else has failed around us because of this, we have nothing. So the idea is to make, we've got to make sure we keep this community lifted. So that's the connection, and that was my inspiration for doing all of this and getting as many people exposure as we possibly can. So please send them.
And it's a fun way to do it.
I agree. I'm like, this isn't so bad. I'm having a ball. So, and you know, and then I get to talk to really cool people like you, and I do want you to tell the story. So besides the fact that she's like super like badass attorney, like just super fun, as you guys can see, she told me a story. We were talking about camping, and I want you to tell everyone how you camp, because I'm so impressed. I'm like, it's not me. It's 1,000% not me, but I'm just impressed. So tell us your best camping story.
Oh my. So, I mean, my son started in backpacking when he was in high school. And so every summer now we go and we do a different loop of backpacking. And of course, you pack in and you pack out. So you wear your pack. Last summer we did the Jordan River Trail. It was 10 miles into camp, and then it was 10 miles back out. And yes, you pack in your food, you don't take a shower, you poop in the woods. There's no fluff in this camping. And we took our dog, and of course he sleeps in the tent with us. And so he took my pillow, but I mean, it's a really good time. And the nice thing about it is there isn't any social media. There isn't anything else kind of going on. And so it's one of those times where I get to just talk with my son. And, you know, we talk all day and by the campfire at night. And I love it. I wouldn't miss it. There's going to be a time where he's going to stop asking me to go. You know, when he's 20. Okay. When his girlfriend or, you know, somebody else will go instead of me. But until he stops asking, I will be going. So
I think it's beautiful. I mean, I don't know too many women who do that. I know a lot of men who do that, but I don't know too many women. So I admire you for that. And but I also admire that connection. I mean, our kids are, you know, that's what we strive for, right? Right. How can we make a greater connection with our kids? And I don't know any better connection than being alone in the woods with your son with no social media.
Right.
and the memories forever. You know, he's going to turn around and want to create that for his own kids. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing.
Right.
So,
we've done South Manitou Island, which was really neat. We hiked about 35 miles around that island for over 3 days. We've done the Jordan River Trail. We're doing Manistee River Trail this summer. It's just been really nice. Oh, and we've done 4 sections of the Appalachian Trail.
Wow.
So we've done, what we do is, because we could never do that whole thing, obviously, I have a job, but so every spring break for the last 3 years, we've done different sections of the Appalachian Trail, and that's always been really fun too. So yeah.
I would just be concerned at how many bottles of wine can I actually carry at one time in my pack.
Well, what you need to carry are the cardboard boxes, because those can be burned.
Oh,
at the campfire.
Nice. Nice. There's a solution for everything. I love it. Innovation. It's beautiful. Right. Well, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you being here, Kathryn. And can you just, before we sign off, tell everybody where they can find you?
Well, I'm located in downtown Milford, right next to the fire station on Huron Street. There's a dentist office and Johnson Elementary. So I'm just right here in this little area of downtown Milford. And I'm looking forward to being able to open up my office again, right?
I know, right? Do you have a website?
I do. It's K as in Kathy, SS as in Sam. So KSSattorney.com. I say it's KISS without the I.
Beautiful. And then can we, we'll drop that link down in the comments for everybody to have. The other thing too, you mentioned earlier that you are licensed in other states. What other states are you licensed in that you might be able to help people from a farther reach?
Oh, right now, Wisconsin. And I am working on finishing up my application and licensure in Alabama.
Awesome. Okay, so we have Kathryn who can help you, Kathy, who can help you in other parts of the country. So please reach out to her. We'll drop the link down below. I would love for you all to share this video because I think what she's brought to us is so important, dispelling some myths and making sure that people don't have misconceptions or the wrong perceptions regarding divorce, family law, and she just provided some critical advice for us. You have a blog too. I think that blog, people need to know where to find your blog because you put some good information on there.
I do have a blog. It's on my website, and then I do repost to LinkedIn, to Facebook, and stuff like that. I've been blogging for, probably 6 years now. I have over 230 blogs. If there's a legal question you have and you go to my website and go to my blog page, if you put in the legal question you have related to family law, I'm almost certain you'll have a blog that'll come up, whether it's international custody, international support, how do you get child support if one of the people have passed away? I mean, I've done so many blogs on so many different areas of family law. If you have a question, I've probably blogged it. If you have a question and I haven't blogged it, I'd love to know the question so I can blog it.
See, there you go. Beautiful. Let's do that. Drop some questions down here. Let's see if they're on the, see if we can stump her. Let's do a stump Kathy's blog challenge.
Love it. Love it.
Well, yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you again so much. This was awesome. I love getting to know you every time I get to know you. And I really appreciate you being here. I hope you all appreciated the information that she's brought you. Please give us some love in the comments, some hearts, some shares, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paula. Bye.
See you later. Stop recording.